This computer. Here we go. All right, lucky I double checked that one and I will pin myself and go one. All right. And move that over there. Okay, so for the end of the year, all right, so we've literally got 10 weeks left. And in this morning's live, I was talking about how it feels like there's like this big homecoming. The end of the year is approaching us very fast. And so today we've got Venus at 0 degrees of Libra. She has done her traversing the wildlife, the wilderness as such with that Virgo green witch. It's like she's gone out, and even though she was in detriment, she's grounded herself. She's, she's applied all the natural principles to herself, and she is come back quieter, but more fulfilled and energized. Anyway, like I was saying this morning in the thing, the moon's in Cancer conjunct Jupiter. They're beautiful. She is welcome. Yeah, she's been welcomed home with open arms. All right. So Mars also being in the traditional rulership of Scorpio, is beautiful as well. And very soon Neptune will go back into Pisces. But that's neither here nor there for this conversation. So right now, I feel like we're going into a period of time, at least until the 6th of November, when Venus moves into Scorpio. All right. So she's also in detriment in Scorpio because she rules Taurus. However, just like just like Mercury in Scorpio, there is a certain amount of power that comes from the ability to get uncomfortable and go into those tricky subjects. This whole Scorpio vibe, it's a resonance that requires its intensity. It's very deliberate action needs to be taken because you're going into a realm where you're going to be challenged by certain forces. So, right now, okay, sorry, I'll backtrack a little bit. So first of all, we've got the new moon in Libra on the 21st. All right, so let me go forward to the 21st. And again, this is just a heads up for what we've got coming. All right, so the 21st at some point, we're going to have the new moon in Libra with Venus in Libra. Love that. Mercury and the moon and Lilith, look at that. All right, so hence I'm really moving into this. There is depth and substance coming. There's meaning, there's proactivity, there's intensity, there's strategy, there's deep thinking needed and available for you to utilize. All right, so this new moon in Libra, yeah, nice. Let's look at, what do we want in our lives that is fair, balanced, I'm just trying to think of the right words, aesthetic, diplomatic, you know, where does it sit in your chart as to where you want to find some more balance in your life is another one we can go through. Um, where does this new moon chart sit in your own chart? All right. So, but I just love this. All right. Putting the Lilith back in last night, I was like, oh, all right. I think I've got her right here. All right. I've got this beautiful onyx goddess here. And because I've been doing the heroine's journey and all of the that deep dive into the feminine principles, and it's opened up all of this stuff about misogyny and women and their intuition and safety, and how we're guided by our feelings, which helps us to stay safe. All right, again, I'm just sort of letting the words flow. All right, so this new moon, again, there's a certain amount of strategy and intensity. And I think there's a little bit of the dark side of the goddess coming in here. Like I said, I've put Lilith back in. So, and I just think it's just the perfect time that we are, we're mentally and physically getting ready for Scorpio season, even though Mercury and Mars are already there. We're going to have the sun move into Scorpio on the 23rd of October, and then Venus move into Scorpio on the 6th of November. Now, on the 8th of November, Uranus moves back into Taurus, all right, which is Venus's sign. So can you sort of see how, you know, like we're not going to be able to escape this intense vibe, so we might as well prepare ourselves and get ready for it instead. All right, so that was the new moon. All right, the 22nd, Neptune moves back into Pisces. All right, here is where we're going to be able to close out all of the, where's Neptune? Yeah, here we go. Okay, so that now that means that Neptune and Saturn are both, again, this morning I was saying that they're, you know, they might be out of sign right now, but they're still touching each other. They're still in communication with each other. They're still like oh my God, scholars sitting at a table discussing, you know, the matters of the world. All right. So when they're both back into Neptune, to Pisces, um, you know, Neptune in Pisces is, yes, it's in rulership, but it also brings up fears of the unknown, escapist tendencies, you know, I don't know. There's a lot more negative qualities to Neptune in Pisces if you are in a state of mind that is not strong and prepared. All right. Again, I guess this is all about the preparation required for the next 10 weeks. All right. So now when the sun moves into Scorpio, we also have that Mercury conjunct Lilith. So again, we're going into these underworld vibes. Even just looking at this day when Neptune moves back into there, like this is big stuff. And then the next day, the sun moves into Scorpio. So look at this beautiful, um, big chunky lineup that we're going to have. Now, modern rulership, Pluto. All right. Modern rulership, Pluto, it rules Scorpio. Traditional rulership, Mars rules Scorpio. All right. So we're going to use both of them. On this day, the 24th, we have, or the 25th, we've got Sun square Pluto. All right. So and then the moon moves into, so what am I feeling here? All right, again, with the let's get all of the topics in your life that are hidden, secretive, taboo, you know, any of the old crisis or trauma that you have just lingering, have it ready. All right, have it written down so that you can look that shit in the face and say, I do not need to escape my reality anymore. I can rebuild these foundations that may have been based in fear and address them. Look at this beautiful trine here. All right, so this is the 25th of October. I want everybody to just be prepared for this, you know. It's coming. It's, you know, but look at the beautiful grand trine here as well. So we've got Jupiter, Mercury, and then this Saturn down here. Yeah, it's not exact, but it's there. Um, so how can we transform these deep feelings? All right, we've both got Pluto, Mercury, Scorpio, Jupiter, and it is going to be about these base level subconscious conditioning, family programming, these type of events. Jupiter is square Chiron on that day. All right, so this 25th of October is going to be around this big time. All right, so we've got the heads up for that. Although, look, on this day with the moon in Sagittarius, I love that because Sagittarius is able to come up out of that pit and just go, oh my God, I see the light. All right. So we have to go through the experience to see the light at the end of the tunnel. All right. So that is that day. All right. So 4th of November, Mars is going to move into Sagittarius. This is much more of a, okay, I've done the hard work. Here comes the adventure. All right. I love that. Mercury and Mars are going to be in Sag. Yeah, they're going to be opposing Uranus in Gemini. This could be us. We are changing our mindset. All right. Mars is looking in a much more, Mars in Sag is a bit like a preacher. All right. He's a passionate preacher standing at the pulpit. And it's like we're in the crowd and we have heard some words that have made us ding. We're like, oh my God, I get that. All right. So I feel like through all of that work that we're doing in the underworld, we come out on top, and there's a breath of fresh air for us to look at. Now, the fifth, this is also the Scorpio or the Taurus full moon, all right, is on the 5th. I've spoken previously about this one. I believe that this is going to be a great time for us to do some financial planning. All right. Really looking into the nitty-gritty of things. Venus is still in Libra at this time, so she's still in a good place for ruling money. The full moon in Taurus is going to be allow us to see all of the financial data and details. Mercury is getting ready to retrograde. He does go retrograde on the 9th of November. All right, but in Sagittarius, he is officially in detriment. However, I think with all of the things that are happening, it might just be that he's a little bit overwhelmed because of the scope of data that he has at his disposal. All right. So getting prepared for this situation is just going to be having all your bills, data, and, look, I think it's really important that we constantly do this. This is not just a one and done thing. It's, um, the Barefoot Investor talks about having weekly dates with yourself or your partner around finances until you get everything sorted, and then those dates move to monthly, where you can just revisit all of the data and act accordingly based on your financial literacy and education in those matters. So I just think this is going to be a great time for it. Scorpio does rule investments and joint finances. And like again, the Taurus full moon, Mars, Mercury there in a good position. And even though Uranus does move back into Taurus on the 8th. So maybe the work that you do at this time will start to change when Uranus moves back into Taurus. I would definitely be keeping an eye on the stock markets at this time as well, because that type of movement is going to shake up the financial system again. We've seen what Uranus has done to our food security, the value of things. So there's no reason why it's not going to have one last shake up of the stock markets and all of those type of things. So there's that. All right. So Mercury retrograde on the 9th. Now Jupiter goes retrograde on the 11th. This is about 3 months worth. So, I mean, yes, it's the biggest planet, but I think it's also just going to be doing a review. All right. So there we go. On the 11th, it goes retrograde. It's in Cancer. All right. Are we still doing the subconscious work, or are we actually just doing, you know, um, are we looking back at the things in our house? Oh, we've got Jupiter and see, okay, so Mercury doesn't rule Cancer, but Jupiter rules Sag. All right, so maybe we're just going to be looking around our house, I keep talking about, those subconscious limitations that we have that come from childhood experiences and family of origin patterns. I just feel like this is going to be one of those ones. Uranus is, what do we value? Where has our ideals of comfort and security come from? And just looking back in time at that as well. So I love all of those things. All right, now Venus is in Scorpio at that time, so she's very shrewd in this placement. All right, she walks into a room very much like Venus in Capricorn walks into a room with a clipboard. Um, Venus in Scorpio walks into the room in a power suit. All right, she's not to be messed with, even though she's in detriment. I don't believe that. I think she's at her most powerful. And because she's not at her most feminine, I think that's another reason why it's detrimental to her. But fuck messing with Venus in Scorpio for sure. All right. What other ones have I got here? So, all right. So Mercury is going to go back into Scorpio during its retrograde. That is on the 19th. All right. So again, we get to look at this beautiful, beautiful new moon on the 20th. So we get to revisit any of those. Oh, look at this beautiful grand trine again. Where I was talking about the 25th of October, this is very reminiscent of that time with this beautiful grand trine here. All right. So any of the topics that are coming up at the end of this month are gonna, I feel like they're likely going to come up again in the third week of November. So, finances, old, old insecurities, old belief patterns. This is all internal work. Scorpio is deep, retrogrades are internalized. Water, it's a water grand trine. We're looking at our emotions, our intuition, our internal power systems. All right. We're all witches here. All right. So, being able to accept and harness that power that we have on the inside is also so important. All right. Okay, so that was around the new moon on the 20th. So I just love that. Feels so good. All right, so actually, that is also the day that we have the next Mercury Cazimi. All right, so this is the inferior Cazimi because it's when the sun is conjunct Mercury. The superior one is when it's at the other end of the cycle. Again, I always get confused with that. I will clarify it at another time. All right, so we also have the sun opposing Uranus at that time. All right, so it's all, look, Sun Lilith. All right, so again, with going back to these deep feminine discomforts, and I don't know, there's just so much feminine energy at the moment that I'm feeling connected to, um that I just really want to give you guys permission to look into these recesses that make you uncomfortable. All right, these are what these transits are all about, looking within. All right, Pluto's direct now. All right, you can see these things for what they are. All right. All right, so Sun opposition Uranus. Now the Sun goes into Sagittarius on the 22nd. All right, so this finishes up our uh traversing the underworld. We come up and just like, here we go, just like Persephone when she is allowed to revisit the earth, like the above earth, and revisit her mother. It's a coming home. And that's not really the right way of saying it, but there is meaning found in the transit that you've just been through. All right, so you come up into Sagittarius and things just make sense. All right, or they feel better. Now on the 28th, we've got the Saturn going direct. All right, so all of this internal criticism that Saturn has been doing, like you have been giving yourself a hard time. That's what Saturn does. He puts in restrictions and limitations. He makes you feel responsible, but he gives you determination and discipline. All right, so when he goes direct, we are going to be able to outwardly express all of these lessons. All right. So when Saturn is retrograde, especially in Pisces, which is that subconscious unseen realm, we're making sense of things. We're restructuring. Okay. So now when Saturn comes back out into direct motion, we can now put into practice and this is any retrograde. You do your review, you learn your lessons, and then it goes direct, and you're able to apply the lessons that you have learned. All right, so Saturn direct on the 28th or 29th, I'm showing here, is also the day that, oh no, that's not right. Mars is conjunct that Lilith. Yeah, no, I'm not feeling the love on that one. All right. The next day, Mercury goes direct. Yay. All right. So Mercury goes back to 20 degrees of Scorpio. So we have that one going over our sun 3 times, Mikkel. So this is going to be interesting for Mikkel and I, because we've both got the sun at 22 of Scorpio. So we're definitely going to have to have a look at that first date when Mercury conjuncts our sun. But anyway, sorry, that's neither here nor there for the recording. Anyway, I like that. All right, so now Venus goes into Sag on the 30th. All right, thus she then comes out of the underworld, puts on some hiking boots, or she gets she gets to put on her robes, maybe. And I'm saying robes because I think it's a bit more of a philosopher, preacher, a bit of a nun vibe. All right, because she's going into a realm where she is passionate about her beliefs and she lives those beliefs. So, like, that's the thing about Sagittarius. All right, it's a belief system, it's your higher thinking. Just in the same way that a judge believes in the judicial system. That's why he's done all the work to get to that position of authority where he's like, I know the law. Okay. So it's the same with a preacher or somebody that is, has a spiritual modality, is they know what they're talking about. All right. So there's this element of knowing that comes with Sagittarius because you've just gone through the fires of Scorpio. Even though it's not a fire sign, it still burns or washes away the stuff. All right, so Venus in Sag, beautiful. Right, now December is actually not that busy compared to November. November has got a lot of stuff that I haven't even touched on, but December. All right, so we go to December and the full moon is on the 4th. All right, so all right, I'm just out here. Oh, there you go. So it's showing the 5th. All right, so my thing must be not set, must be set to Greenwich Mean Time, not Hobart time. All right, so sorry about that. The full moon is on the 5th. All right, love this one. Gemini, lots of curiosity. That look, Scorpio, there you go. Mercury is in Scorpio at this time with this full moon. So we're still looking into those deeper shadowy aspects of what is being exposed here, what higher knowledge is being exposed and communicated and talked about at this full moon. All right, so the Scorpio vibe continues. All right, so we're still in December now, and Scorpio is still hanging around there. All right, so Neptune goes direct at 29 of Scorpio on the 10th. So let's go to the 11th. All right, so thus ends a long period of Neptune is going to move into Aries soon for the last time in our lifetimes. All right, we're not going to experience this again. And with Saturn there backing it up, ladies, this is the time to rewrite your rule books. All right, you are finishing off and tying up all of these loose ends of beliefs that are not relevant anymore. You have been doing the structural work in your subconscious for close to 3 years now while Saturn's been in Pisces, and it's been a slog. All right. So now what you're doing is just like a scribe, in those old medieval days. They are just, you know, all right. So the analogy for me at this time would be they are choosing to go off path a little bit, and instead of just copying the word for word from the old books, they're seeing that these old things are no longer relevant and now they're making amendments. All right. So I feel like this is, these final sort of days of this chapter where we can make these amendments that we've been working on for so long. All right. So yeah, so it is next year when they both move into Aries for good. But at this time, I'd love you to just sort of consider it like that. Where do I need to finish writing these amendments? All right, so that full moon is going to be good for that. All right, so Neptune direct. Mercury moves back into Sagittarius on the 11th. Yay, it must be moving really fast right now. Sorry, 13th. Mars moves into Capricorn on the 15th. I love this one. Again, for strategy and getting ready for if you do partake in Christmas. All right, so where's Mars? There we go. Mars is in Capricorn. All right, so Capricorn and Scorpio are very similar. They sextile each other, and I think it's more like the pre-planning, the strategy, the function. Mars in Capricorn is, maybe the young buck walking into the boardroom going, I've got all these new ideas, and the CEO going, I was you once before, buddy. You've got, time is what is going to give you, because Saturn is time. So this, Mars in Capricorn might be us trying to initiate new ideas even though we know that our mentors are saying that it takes time to implement and action things, it's still good to bring these things to the table, to shake things up a bit and go, yeah, again, with the analogy of the scribe amending the story because these things are no longer relevant. So I feel like as we're moving towards the end of the year, we're really starting to implement all of the internal work that we've been doing thus far. All right, so the new moon is on the 20th. It's probably going to be around the 22nd. Oh, no, there you go, the 20th. All right. So in Sagittarius, I love it. Yes, Jupiter is retrograde in Cancer. And again, closing out cycles, guys. All right. These are, us figuring out where we are uncomfortable. How did we get here? Look, here's a beautiful one for that new moon day. The sun is in conjunct Uranus. All right. So here is us understanding Sagittarius and making the adjustments so that our values, our sense of security, think of those Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all right? We understand because we're doing the Jupiter retrograde where we got our initial understanding of what makes us feel safe. All right. But now, as the people we are now, we are looking back on that and going, that is not relevant anymore. This is not 1980. All right. This is 2025. All right. We are allowed to make adjustments in our life trajectory because we understand new things. All right. And then we're bringing these new things to the table to maybe, implement some amendments to the rules. All right. I like that one. All right. So where am I? The 20th. All right. So the 21st, the sun moves into Capricorn, and the 24th, Venus moves into Capricorn. And on the 25th, so for Christmas Day this year, we've got the sun in the moon in Pisces. So I like this. I think that I believe this year may be a little bit more, although it is Christmas Day that, these movements occur. I wonder if we can, okay, I'm getting a little bit of sorry, okay. Sagittarius, we're going to likely splurge. Okay, so getting ready for Christmas, if you are someone that partakes in, that whole thing, be aware that maybe on Christmas Day you're going to be like, oh, maybe I, shouldn't have bought so much. But again, you're in the vibe. All right. So it's going to be a beautiful, dreamy Christmas Day. There's no major aspects happening for New Year's, but let's have a look at New Year's Eve. All right. I like looking at New Year's Eve. Okay, let's go to about, say, 5 o'clock on New Year's Eve. All right, so we've got the moon in Taurus, conjunct Uranus. Oh, I like that. And Venus in Capricorn. All right. I think the Mercury in conjunct Uranus. I reckon more people are going to want to stay home this year than last year was off its head. I remember saying to Ben in maybe June last year, if you want to go out on New Year's Eve, I'd be booking it now because lots of people are going to want to go out and do big things on New Year's Eve of 2024. This year, I'm like, I think people are going to want to stay home this year and be much more practical, maybe watch things on TV from the comfort of their lounge. All right, so there you go. That's my take on the rest of the year. I hope this helps in any way whatsoever. And on Friday, I can leave this. I'll leave my paperwork here, and we can apply this to your chart if there are any specific times that you want to look at. So, all right, I will stop the recording.